From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Wednesday, July the 5th, 2017. The Prime Minister of India arrived in Israel yesterday. Narendra Modi is the first Indian premier to visit the country, where he has been meeting with Israeli leaders and officials, including with Israeli President Reuven Rivlin and with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who accompanied the Indian leader to Yad Vashem, Israel's Holocaust Museum, and to Mount Herzl. The two reaffirmed the strong ties between Israel and India and signed a number of agreements of cooperation in the fields of agriculture and water, technology, science, and counter-terrorism. And today, Modi met with the now 11-year-old son of two Israeli Chabad emissaries, Rabbi Gavriel and Rivka Holtzberg, who were murdered in the terror attacks in Mumbai in 2008, which included an attack at the Chabad house in the city. Moshe Holtzberg was saved by his nanny, who escaped during the attack and is being raised by his grandparents in Israel. He told Modi he would go back to India when he was older to lead the house as his parents did. Israeli border police officers found a bag of knives, stun grenades, and Molotov cocktail materials inside a Palestinian vehicle yesterday. They found the items while searching the car at a security checkpoint outside of Bethlehem. The driver and 5 passengers, none of whom had entry permits, were detained for questioning, and the vehicle was seized. According to a police spokesperson, they later admitted that they were planning to carry out a terror attack in Jerusalem. Mortars from Syria once again fell inside Israel over the weekend. 2 shells thought to be spillover from the country's civil war landed in an open area near the border fence within the Israeli side of the Golan Heights. We've been reporting to you about a number of such projectiles landing in Israel from Syria over the last week, and Saturdays were the 17th and 18th shells to land. There was no damage or injury reported. The IDF spokesperson, Brigadier General Ronen Manelis, said Israel holds the Syrian regime responsible for any breach of its borders and will act accordingly. The IDF retaliated, hitting a cannon belonging to the Syrian army. Israel's opposition leader Isaac Herzog will no longer lead the opposition. The Labor Party held elections last night, and Herzog lost his bid for re-election as Labor's head. A runoff will be held next week to see who will take his place, former Israeli defense minister and former Labor leader Amir Peretz, or new party member Avi Gabay, who moved over to Labor just a few months ago from the Kulanu party. The United Church of Christ adopted a resolution that accuses Israel of the mistreatment of Palestinian children and calls on the U.S. to withhold military aid to Israel because of these alleged human rights violations. The resolution passed at the church's General Assembly held this weekend in Maryland, with 79% voting in favor. The American Jewish Committee's Director of Interreligious and Intergroup Relations, Rabbi Noam Marans, said it was deeply disappointing that the UCC was staying on a trajectory dictated by the BDS, Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions movement. Marans noted that the resolution completely ignores the fact that Palestinian leaders continue to support violence and encourage children toward violence against Israelis. Marans said the latest UCC resolution does nothing to advance the possibility of peace. Rather, by continuing to demonize Israel, UCC supports those who oppose peace. In a show of cooperation and partnership, Israeli and Palestinian rescue and security forces held a joint exercise today at a border crossing near the Palestinian city of Jenin in the West Bank. The drill was run by the Israeli Civil Administration, with emergency teams working side by side in a simulated vehicular accident. Investigators in Argentina have identified new DNA among the 85 victims of the 1994 Buenos Aires Jewish Center terror attack and believe it to be that of a suicide bomber. The AMIA Special Investigation Unit of the General Prosecution in Buenos Aires announced the find on Monday. just 2 weeks before the 23rd anniversary of the bombing. The identity of the bomber, according to another report, is believed to be Ibrahim Hussein Barrow, a Lebanese citizen and an alleged member of terror group Hezbollah. This is the first time since the attack that the body of a possible suicide terrorist was found or ID'd. The USS George HW Bush arrived in Haifa on Saturday, the first U.S. aircraft carrier to visit an Israeli port since the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower back in April of 2000. Commander of the U.S. Naval Forces Europe-Africa, Admiral Michelle Howard, remarked on the U.S.'s long-standing military-to-military engagements with Israel, saying in this visit to Israel, GHWB's might is a metaphor for the strength of the bonds between our countries. And Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu toured the aircraft carrier along with his wife Sarah and reaffirmed that Israel has no better friend than the U.S. and the U.S. has no better friend than Israel. Netanyahu also extended his best wishes to the American people on its Independence Day. Netanyahu joined U.S. Ambassador to Israel David Friedman at his home for a 4th of July celebration Monday night. And taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Wednesday, July the 5th. At 7 o'clock, His Eminence Timothy Cardinal Dolan is among the honorees at the 2017 New York Board of Rabbis Humanitarian Awards Dinner. At 8, CUNY Professor Jerome Chanis looks at how the U.S. administrations of the 20th century each interacted with the State of Israel. At 9, Mark Golub sits down with Rabbi and historian David Dalen, who discusses the contributions of the first 3 Jewish Supreme Court justices on L'chaim, followed at 10:30 with Kosher Movies. And coming up right after this newscast tonight at 6:30, it's Thinking Out Loud with Micah Halpern. And that's the JBS News Update for Wednesday, July the 5th, 2017. I'm Teisha Bader.